I'm yours. I am. You can fuck me right. You can fuck me right now.
I can fuck you right now? I can fuck you right now?
Yes.
Show me.
Okay.
Show me.
Let's go.
Prove it to me.
Let's go.
Take your hand off the gun.
I will.
Take your hand off the gun.
But you have to pull my pants down.
Okay, take your hand off the gun.
Stop.
Take your hand off the gun.
Kareem, stop.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't take your hand off the gun, you is going to get shot by this.
Parking lot.
January 30th, 2023. Those words came from Sergeant Cheryl Clark, a 15-year veteran of the MARTA police force. She's in a police parking lot while on duty, her hand on her service weapon, propositioning Cleveland Lambert. When he tries to leave, she fires 8 shots at him. 3 bullets strike him in the back as he's running away. The official story released to the public painted a clear picture. Lambert viciously attacked Officer Clark, beat her about the face and hands, tried to take her gun, and she fired in self-defense.
Developing story this morning, a MARTA police sergeant is in the hospital after police say her ex-boyfriend viciously attacked her while she was on duty.
She was able to finally fight him off, but police say not before having to pull the trigger.
But the body camera footage shows something completely different. A confrontation that ended with a man being shot while fleeing. A man who posed no threat at that moment. An audio that raises serious questions about what really happened in that parking lot. Despite everything being recorded, Cheryl Clark faces no criminal charges. Cleveland Lambert sits in jail, charged with assaulting a police officer, unable to make his $200,000 bond. His medical bills exceed $400,000. He has partial paralysis in his left arm, chronic pain that will follow him for the rest of his life. How does the victim become the criminal when everything is caught on camera? 6 months before that January night, Cleveland Lambert walked out of Georgia State Prison. At 38 years old, he had served his sentence and was starting over. Lambert moved in with his sister in East Atlanta. Every morning at 5 a.m., he took the MARTA train downtown, filling out job applications at construction sites, warehouses, anywhere that would hire someone with a criminal record. The responses were predictable. Background checks came back flagged. Positions had already been filled. We'll call you if something opens up. But Lambert kept showing up. He never missed a meeting with his parole officer. His drug tests came back clean. He was doing everything right. Eventually, he landed a job washing dishes at a restaurant near Peachtree. Minimum wage. Simple work. But it was honest money. And Lambert sent part of every paycheck back to his mother in Augusta. His parole officer noted his perfect attendance record. No violations, no issues. Lambert appeared to be successfully rebuilding his life. But there was something happening beneath the surface. Lambert started taking different routes home from work. Instead of the direct path through 5 Point Station, he detoured through West End, adding 20 minutes to his commute each way. When his sister asked why, Lambert said the crowds at 5 Points made him anxious. The real reason was Sergeant Cheryl Clark. Clark had been with MARTA Police for 15 years, multiple commendations for excellence, a clean service record on paper. She worked the Public Transit Patrol Division, and in October 2022, she requested a transfer to the night shift at 5 Point Station. This was MARTA's busiest line. Roughly 40,000 people passed through daily. Drug deals, assaults, occasional shootings. Most officers transferred out of 5 Points after 6 months. The stress was too much. Clark specifically asked to work there. According to records that would later surface, Clark and Lambert had been involved in some type of relationship. The exact nature and timeline remain unclear, but what is clear is that by January 2023, Lambert was avoiding her. He was taking longer routes home to stay away from 5 Point Station, where she worked. On the evening of January 30th, something brought them together again. At approximately 9 p.m., Lambert drove his Honda Civic to meet Clark. The location was near the MARTA headquarters. Security cameras captured his car entering the area. He parked and walked toward Clark's vehicle. What happened in the next few minutes would change both their lives forever. Clark's body camera was recording. According to MARTA policy, body cameras must be activated during any civilian contact. The footage from that night shows a confrontation between Clark and Lambert. There's a physical struggle. Clark is heard saying "stop" multiple times. But she's also heard propositioning Lambert, telling him he can have sex with her, telling him to pull her pants down while simultaneously keeping her hand on her service weapon. Lambert appears to be trying to keep Clark's hand away from her gun. The situation is chaotic, tense, and the audio is difficult to parse. But what happens next is crystal clear. Lambert breaks away. He runs back to his vehicle and gets inside. He starts the engine and begins to drive away. At this point, Lambert is leaving. He is no longer engaged in any physical confrontation with Clark. He is fleeing the scene. And that's when Clark opens fire. 8 shots. The first rounds strike near Lambert's vehicle. The next 3 hit him as he's driving away. 3 bullets enter his back. Lambert's car swerves. He's been hit, but he keeps driving. He makes it several blocks before crashing at the intersection of Decatur and Bell Streets. Clark immediately gets on her radio.
Parking lot! Employee parking lot!
Officers respond within minutes. They find Lambert's crashed vehicle. He's injured, bleeding, but alive. The responding officers treat Clark as the victim. She tells them Lambert attacked her, beat her, tried to take her gun. She had no choice but to fire.
In the middle of the argument, a fight ensued where he began to beat her about the face and hands, and she ended up shooting him, striking him twice in the middle of the fight. He was seen leaving the scene in a vehicle. Officers pulled that vehicle over and effected an arrest on that suspect.
Yeah.
Where you hurt at?
My arm, my nose. Can you grab my phone off the driver's door? Left arm. Left arm and face. Upper arm. Okay. Now back to level 1. Level 1. To the face and arm. So turn to
There you go. Lay back. Yeah.
Is it the hand or is it the
Left, like shoulder, maybe.
Okay. And right here. I'm going. I got it.
Lambert is pulled from his vehicle and placed under arrest. He's transported to Grady Memorial Hospital with gunshot wounds. Clark is also taken to Grady, where she receives a CT scan and X-rays for injuries she sustained during the struggle with Lambert. The initial news reports frame the incident exactly as Clark described it. A dangerous ex-boyfriend attacked a female police officer. She defended herself. She shot him during the struggle. He fled and crashed. He was arrested. She was treated and released. Lambert is formally charged with aggravated assault on a police officer, battery, and attempting to disarm a law enforcement officer. These charges carry a potential sentence of up to 20 years in prison. He's held on a $200,000 bond, which he cannot afford to pay. Clark, meanwhile, is placed on paid administrative leave while the Georgia Bureau of Investigation conducts its review. This is standard procedure for any officer-involved shooting. She continues to receive her full salary of approximately $68,000 per year while the investigation unfolds. But then the body camera footage begins to circulate. Clips appear on social media. People start watching, and what they see doesn't match the official narrative at all. The audio of Clark propositioning Lambert, the visual of Lambert trying to leave, the fact that he was shot while fleeing, not during an active attack, the 3 bullets that entered his back. None of this aligns with a self-defense shooting. Public reaction is swift and divided. Some people point to the initial struggle and argue that Clark had reason to fear for her safety. Lambert was on top of her at one point. She was heard saying, "Stop." In that moment, she may have genuinely felt threatened. Others point to what happened after the struggle. Once Lambert got in his car and started driving away, he was no longer a threat. Shooting a fleeing person in the back is not self-defense. That's the moment the situation changed from a possible justified use of force to something else entirely. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation completes its review and forwards the case to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. District Attorney Fani Willis makes the decision. Based on the evidence presented, her office determines they cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Sergeant Clark's use of force was unlawful. The statement released to the public explains that Lambert's own criminal actions led to the incident. No charges are filed against Cheryl Clark. The decision sparks outrage. Legal experts point out that shooting someone in the back as they're fleeing is typically not considered justified force. The threat has to be imminent. Once a person is running away or driving away, they're no longer an imminent threat to the officer's life. But there's another layer to this case that complicates everything. Georgia law gives police officers broad protection when they claim they felt threatened. If an officer articulates a reasonable fear for their safety, that's often enough to avoid prosecution, even when the evidence suggests otherwise. Even when body camera footage shows a different story. Clark's employment status remains in limbo for over a year. She stays on paid administrative leave while MARTA conducts its own internal investigation. Finally, in March 2024, more than a year after the shooting, MARTA terminates her employment. The reason given is violation of department policy. Which policy was violated is never publicly disclosed. This is an internal disciplinary matter, not a criminal one. So let's break down where things stand. Cheryl Clark lost her job. That's the extent of her consequences. She was never arrested, never charged with a crime, never spent a day in jail. She collected a full salary for over a year while on leave, then walked away with no criminal record. Cleveland Lambert survived his injuries, but the damage is permanent. 3 bullets struck him, 1 shattered bones in his left arm, leaving him with partial paralysis. He lives with chronic pain every single day. His medical bills exceed $400,000, and he's been in custody since leaving the hospital, unable to pay the $200,000 bond. His trial date continues to be pushed back. The body camera footage exists. It's been seen by investigators, by prosecutors, by the public, and yet the outcomes remain unchanged. Lambert faces decades in prison. Clark faces no criminal liability whatsoever. Let's look at what the body camera actually captured, because this is the evidence that should have made the difference. The footage shows Clark with her hand on her weapon throughout the encounter. It shows Lambert trying to keep her hand away from the gun. It shows a struggle. And then it shows separation. Lambert gets away. He runs to his car. He gets inside. He starts the engine. At that moment, any reasonable argument for imminent threat ends. Lambert is leaving. He's not advancing on Clark. He's not reaching for a weapon. He's fleeing. And that's when 8 shots are fired. Forensic evidence confirms that 3 bullets entered Lambert's back. The entry wounds prove he was moving away from Clark when he was shot. Under standard police use of force guidelines, shooting a fleeing suspect is only justified if that suspect poses an ongoing danger to others. For example, if a suspect is fleeing toward a crowded area while armed and actively threatening people, an officer might be justified in stopping that threat with deadly force. But Lambert was driving away in a vehicle. He wasn't threatening anyone else. He was simply leaving. Clark's account to investigators emphasized the struggle. She stated that Lambert attacked her, dragged her to the ground, beat her, and tried to take her gun. She felt her life was in danger. When she finally got control of her weapon, she fired to stop the threat. But the body camera footage adds context that her statement leaves out. The audio of her propositioning Lambert, the fact that she had her hand on her gun from the beginning of the encounter, the timing of when the shots were actually fired. All of this paints a more complicated picture than a simple self-defense narrative. There's also the matter of Clark's history. Records show she had 3 previous complaints filed against her during her 15 years with MARTA police. 2 complaints alleged excessive use of force. 1 complaint from 2019 involved harassment of a former boyfriend. All 3 investigations were closed without any disciplinary action taken against Clark. This pattern matters. It suggests this wasn't an isolated incident. Clark had a documented history of complaints involving force and personal relationships. Yet she remained on active duty, fully armed, with the authority to make arrests and use deadly force. The question that haunts this entire case is simple. If the body camera footage had never surfaced, what would have happened? Lambert would have been convicted based solely on Clark's testimony. He would be serving 20 years in prison right now. The truth would have died in that parking lot. The body camera saved him from that fate. But it didn't save him from being charged. It didn't save him from sitting in jail for over a year awaiting trial. It didn't save him from $400,000 in medical debt or permanent disability. And it didn't result in any criminal charges against the person who shot him 3 times in the back. According to a Department of Justice study, 40% of police officers admit to using violence in their personal relationships. That's 4 times higher than the national average for the general population. Yet consequences for officers who engage in domestic violence or relationship violence remain rare. Departments often handle these situations internally. Officers are placed on leave, sometimes terminated, but rarely prosecuted. Georgia law makes it especially difficult to charge police officers with crimes committed in the line of duty. Once an officer claims they believe they were under threat, prosecutors face an extremely high burden of proof. They must show beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer's belief was unreasonable. Body camera footage can be sealed indefinitely during investigations. Internal reviews remain confidential. The system is structured to protect officers, even when evidence suggests they may have acted improperly. Since 2020, there have been 17 documented cases across the country where police officers use their position and authority to control, follow, or harm current or former romantic partners. Of those 17 cases, only 2 resulted in criminal convictions. The pattern is clear. Officers who abuse their power in personal relationships rarely face meaningful consequences. Cleveland Lambert's case fits this pattern perfectly. A police officer with a history of complaints, a relationship that went bad, a confrontation in a parking lot, shots fired at a fleeing person, and a system that protected the badge instead of pursuing justice. Lambert's attorney has indicated they plan to file a civil lawsuit against both Clark and Marta. Civil court has a lower burden of proof than criminal court. They don't need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They only need to show by a preponderance of evidence that Clark's actions were unjustified. The body camera footage could be devastating in a civil trial, but even if Lambert wins a civil judgment, it won't change his criminal charges. He still faces trial for assaulting the officer who shot him. He still faces up to 20 years in prison. A civil verdict won't erase his injuries or restore full function to his arm. It won't give him back the year he spent in jail awaiting trial. The case raises uncomfortable questions about how we hold police officers accountable when they commit crimes, about what happens when the people sworn to protect us become the threat, about why body camera evidence that clearly contradicts official reports still isn't enough to bring charges. Cheryl Clark was a 15-year veteran. She had commendations. She had authority. She had a badge and a gun. And when her relationship with Cleveland Lambert fell apart, she had the power to rewrite the narrative, to cast herself as the victim, to charge him as the aggressor, to use the full weight of the justice system to punish him for refusing her. If that body camera hadn't been recording, her version would be the only version. Lambert would be in prison. Clark would still be on the force. And no one would ever know what really happened in that parking lot. The footage exists. The truth is documented. And yet one person sits in jail while the other walks free. How does a victim become the criminal when everything is caught on camera?